Call the meeting to order. We'd like to welcome everyone here tonight and have several visitors here. And at this time, we would like to ask Brother Cliff Marion of First Baptist Church Covenant, pastor, to lead us in a word of prayer, and we'll remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Well, it's an honor to be here in front of all of you and the guests, and especially to be in the presence of the Southwest Corps Superintendent of the Year, John Combs. I don't think I would be more excited, ladies, if I were standing in front of Taylor Swift. So,
I don't know if I like that. I don't know.
y'all show this man respect, all right? Hey, let's pray, and then we'll continue. Lord, I love you, and I'm so thankful for Tipton County Public Schools. I'm thankful for my friend, Dr. John Combs. You have placed this man with his heart, with his mind, in his spot at this time for a particular reason. And I'm thankful for his leadership, but I'm thankful for how he serves. I think about these elected officials who they said yes to serve, not for the accolades, but to serve and to make a difference for their community. And so, Lord, it's my prayer for this entire board, Lord, that you will bless them with clarity of thought. Lord, that you will give them unity as a board. But Lord, also that you will protect them from any political games, any secret or hidden or even public agendas, and that these men and women will stand up and they will work tirelessly for the kids of our community who need them and are depending upon them. That they will stand up and represent and fight for our administrators, our teachers, all of our staff. These meetings, this board means so much, and we need your hand to bless this group. And so, Lord, what we do here, we do not take lightly, and I am very grateful from the bottom of my heart for all of these servant leaders who stepped up to fill these roles. So, Lord, I just ask that you bless them, help them, guide them. I pray these things in the mighty name of Jesus. And everybody said,
Amen. Thank you, Brother Cliff.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? A motion by Mr. Kirk, second by Ms. Eubanks. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed. Are there any additions? Next item is our consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove any item for discussion?
I'd like to remove one.
Okay.
I think it's C5, the library material.
C5 is to be removed. Anybody else have anything?
On the first reading policy revisions, D5, it appears before the board.
Okay, D5, okay. With those two removed, we will have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Davidson, second by Mr. Kirk. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed. Mr. McCann?
I just noticed it was, it's 4.403, library materials. Looks like it was issued back in August. We've only had it a year, and I was just kind of reading through it, and I see they've made some changes to, I guess the PSBA, I guess they're the one that recommends these changes. I mean,
Yes, sir.
they're the ones that say, I just like how it read before. It looked like it adds like a 3-tier system, 3 levels with the board being at the very end of that list. Whereas before, well, I guess one question would be, I don't guess we've had any library material in question in the past year.
Not that I'm aware of, Dr. Bird, have we? We've had some classroom curriculum we've looked at, but not libraries, to my knowledge. None of it's come to me.
I cannot recount recall off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say no and be mistaken, Mr. McCann, but I can go back and look and get you that.
I'm just curious, because this policy is real close to the textbook and instructional material policy, I mean, they're separate, so I can see, this is just books in the library. But what I like about it, the old policy, at least if there was a complaint about something, it shows where it has to come, go through the review process, or have somebody look at it. But then in, it wasn't 7E, after that review committee, part of their action steps would be, they would present a recommendation to the director of schools and the board. And my whole thing is, I feel like that's good, that if somebody's questioning something, even though they make the decision, that, I'm talking to everybody at the board now, is that at least we get to see that something was questioned, to whereas, with the changes in here, it's adding 3 steps in there, that it's almost like you're getting told no twice, and then your third time you have to go, and I just kinda like the way it read before, but I don't know the reasons why the TSBA recommend changing it.
It's usually based on the legislation. I don't know. I didn't read the legislation, so.
Yeah, I didn't, it's, something, it says public acts in 2023, but I didn't go that far to read.
And we can pull it, we can pull it and review it and then
Bring it back.
submit it back at the next meeting, absolutely, with more information.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
just
not a
good, because that
problem.
way if we do have something, I just think it's,
Okay.
it's just letting people, letting us see what's happening.
I
So
have
we would be
the,
notified, but it would still go through the process, right?
Yeah.
so I have the explanation from TSBA, if you would like me to read it, okay. It's very short. So, new state law, public chapter 472, changes the process for school districts to respond to challenged library materials. Previously, state law required that all complaints proceed to the Board of Education. The new law includes flexibility for districts by permitting the board to create a process with several tiers of review. So that's the change. And that's their recommended language, which is what we typically put before you for consideration.
Well, and that's their recommendation, I guess we as the board can decide. I just like how, if somebody's complaining about something, let it work through its process, but it's still, we see what that complaint was at least. I mean, we're not affecting the decision of it, we're just seeing how things played out. And I kinda like that.
Being aware.
Being aware. Without, just, we're not trying to alter anything, we're just being aware.
We just add something like, director of schools will advise the board, upon receipt of complaints.
Let's just let, them pull it and do
We can,
what
yeah,
you
we
can
can do that.
Until the next, bring it back next meeting, we'll look at it then, and, talk about it.
You could almost still use letter E that's marked out and then do the tier. You can still do, 1, 2, 3, but still have it be aware of it and you work it through the process.
I just think we should pull it and look at it and we'll come back with more information. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
All
we're
right,
good.
let's got that. Mr. Vincent,
Okay, this is gonna be easy for you. On appeals before the board, this is a fill in the blank test. We have to fill in the blank because it just says, comment period shall be no more than a certain amount of time, and also for the individuals to speak in a certain amount of time. I would like to make this in the form of a motion that total public comment no more than 30 minutes, I guess, with 2 minutes per individual.
okay. 2 minutes per individual and 30 minutes total, if we have that many people that want to speak.
And I wanna,
Is 2 minutes long enough to?
well, 2 minutes in some cases is long enough and sometimes too
It's
long.
too long. But we can, yeah, I understand.
But you'd get more people if you limited it to 2 minutes. And also, I wanted to make sure I'm understanding this, because I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. This is not when you come up and talk about Mrs. Jones, messing with your kid. This is about public comment for the actionable items on the agenda.
Exactly.
That is correct.
Yes, sir.
So, anyway, I just want to make that.
So you got a motion for 30 minutes total and 2
30 minutes
minutes?
total, 2 minutes per
All right.
individual.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. McCann, or is there any discussion about it? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed. So we got that one taken care of. We just have one policy to bring back next month.
So would we have to post the agenda though, like publicly, so they would know what could be spoken about?
It is.
It is
It
public.
would be,
The
okay,
agenda's public, yes.
okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes, sir. Next, we have a special presentation from, TOS, President, Dr. Dale Lynch, for Dr. Combs. And Dr. Combs? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Taylor Swift.
Congratulations before you get started.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You just stay right there for a
Yes, sir.
second.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be here. I have been executive director for TOS, which is the Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents, very similar to your all's Tennessee School Boards Association. We work very closely together, but a little bit, not that you care, but I think you need to know, I was a superintendent of schools for about 20 years, and my service was in East Tennessee. And I know personally and firsthand what a difficult job being a director of schools is. But before I share the accolades of your superintendent director, I would be remiss if I did not say thank you all. Thank you as Board of Education for your service, for your leadership. The prayer that was given, almost you could drop the mic, I think, because there's 145 superintendents or directors, and I get to go across the state of Tennessee and work with all of them. And it's very, very evident of what a great leader that you have. But he could not be the great leader that he is without having great support from the Board of Education. And I personally want to say thank you for your willingness to stand up and serve, being willing to take care, not just of the staff and the administrators, but what you do for the kids here in Tipton County. So on behalf of TOS, thank you all. I also thank you for knowing your role as a school board member. Dr. Combs, not only is he a superintendent, I will tell you, he is a very close friend. He's very, very, very proud of this school system, and he's very proud of his Board of Education. And I also will tell you, and I think you all know, that he is a warrior. He is a warrior for public schools, and he is a warrior for Tipton County. He is recognized not just in Tipton County, but across the entire state. And I'm going to say something here that I don't say everywhere. You've got a good one, you better hang on to it, because people will come after you. It is an honor to be here. I've had a chance to meet several staff members that Dr. Combs has introduced me to over the years. But at this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Combs to come here, if he would, next to me. And I don't know, and I'm going to do my very best to share with you how impressive this award and this achievement is. He is recognized by his colleagues, and I don't think there's a greater honor that one can receive. And when I think of Southwest Tennessee, there are some pretty good heavy hitters as far as leaders. But Dr. Combs takes a backseat to no one. His colleagues recommended him for the 2024 Southwest Tennessee Superintendent of the Year, Tipton County Schools, which you should all be proud. Dr. John Combs, congratulations.
I'm speaking in a minute, but I did want to tell Dr. Dale, thanks for driving all the way up here for
Oh, it
this.
was a joy.
And all I got was a
Oh.
hat, so, thanks for coming all the way up here, Doc.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And I really hope you know that those words are from the heart. He's very proud of the school system. I hear it all the time. And he is one that is recognized as a great leader, a leader among leaders across the state of Tennessee. Thank you for letting me be here. I apologize that I'm going to be heading out, but I know you feel proud for your superintendent, but you also should be proud for your entire school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Doc.
Congratulations again to Dr. Combs.
Thank you.
We're proud to have you. We're gonna hold on to you.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
When you right back up with
Oh,
superintendent update.
right back up. All right. So, I've never followed Taylor Swift before. That's pretty awesome. I just have a couple things. First off, in your folders there on your devices, you have the lease that the city agreed to for the 2 interim buildings. Our attorneys agreed on this lease, and the city signed the lease at their city council meeting this past Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday night. So now it's to y'all. Again, our attorney's already looked over it. They've gone back and forth with the city attorney. Everything's good to go in it. So I just need, approval from y'all for me to sign it and
Okay.
continue with it.
Do we have a motion to approve the lease with the city? Motion by, Ms. Eubanks, second by Ms. McClurkin. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed.
Awesome. I would also encourage you, to make sure I'm having basically a weekly update with Echo, from the leader, and she is coming on site as she did the last time. She put that hard hat on and that vest, and she came in there and we showed her around. We're gonna continue to do that so everyone can see exactly what we're seeing as the process goes. And then, of course, we're answering questions and putting all those things out as best we can. Also, both principals, Dr. Morris and Mr. Simmons, are doing updates for their faculty and parents as well every week. Some of those are videos, some of them are call-outs, et cetera, to kind of keep us in line. And I'm not gonna steal all of Hunter's thunder, but I will say that we feel good about being on track. Was it yesterday we were out there? The sweat was in my eye. Was that yesterday? So, yeah, I think we feel pretty good about where we are. So, but I'll let him do a little more of that when he gets up here. But the other person I want to introduce, Mr. Houston Estes, if you want to come on up, sir. This is our adjuster with insurance, and we have developed a good relationship with Mr. Houston. He's bought us Gus's chicken twice now, and so he's a member of the family. But if you had any questions for him with regard to, now keep in mind, like we talked about, FEMA is helping us with the interim structures. That was not covered under our insurance. However, contents, the demo of the old buildings and the rebuild of the new buildings will all be something that Mr. Houston will be working with us on. So he's here to answer any questions. I'll just kind of give an update. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Again, my name is Houston Estes. I work on behalf of local government property casualty funds, the pool, as some of you may know it. I also work on behalf of County Reinsurance Limited, and without getting into the mechanics of the policy that you all have here, at a certain level, the pool steps out of it and reinsurance kicks in. And so the bulk of this loss, as you know, is outside of the pool's resources or the self-insured retention of $250,000. So then that moves on to the County Reinsurance Limited and then their excess reinsurers. So I work for all of those folks and as well as you all. So I am the property adjuster. I brought with me Andy Francis from DDI Consultants, who handles our building consulting. She's the project manager for advising us on your proposals, repair costs, plans, codes, demolition plan, whatever you got. It relates to the buildings. Andy and her team are managing that. I also brought my colleague Jenna Morgan, who's with Crawford Forensic Accounting Services. She is our accountant here to help Mr. Daugherty and everybody else keep track of all of the dollars and cents of this. So those are the people behind the scenes. But I wanted to give you a quick update. I know one item that I had exchanged emails with recently with Jamie Stafford, about, I know that you all have some pressing questions from FEMA that need to be addressed. Jamie's asked for some specific items. I did get authority to provide some of those items today. A lot of the stuff that we do behind the scenes is technically the work product of the people that pay for it. Okay, so if we have a forensic engineer that's brought in, if we have a building consultant that's brought in, if we have an attorney that's, whatever, it's privileged information. It doesn't belong to me or the pool. It belongs to the insurers, essentially, and we have to have permission to share that. There's usually not any issue there, unless it's some sort of issue where we disagree. But there's not any issue where we disagree. And so I do have an engineering report, a fairly detailed report that I'll share with you all. I've had it for a few weeks, but I just had to have permission to provide it to you. I know that FEMA wanted to see a copy of that. They also, I know you all are eligible because of some of the limitations and the exclusions that are in the policy. You all are eligible to recover funds under FEMA allegations from government or whatever, how that works. I sort of work on the periphery of that. We provide whatever documentation we can, whatever's available to us. In many cases, FEMA requests or demands an actual declination letter for things that are not covered. So for instance, we had an issue early on where there was a tree debris removal. I believe we had costs of around $100,000 that were presented to us, and I'm just whiffing here. I don't recall the exact amount, but to remove the trees that you all ended up removing within the community, I think,
Yes, sir.
was about $100,000. Now, the policy does not cover those trees. They're not considered, without getting into the weeds on it, they're not considered covered property. We don't cover the dirt, we cover the buildings. So when you get so far away from the building, it then becomes land and not the structure, okay? So we're confined to the structure and landscaping. So we didn't pay for that. That's an item that is explicitly excluded in the policy. I will send you a letter detailing why we didn't pay for that, and if you incurred any costs, you present that to FEMA and you work through their process. So as things come up, I don't think there's too much. Some of the extra expense items, what we would consider extra expense, your interim schools. Okay, I know the county or the BOE is bearing a considerable cost there. How that is handled is you all's business. That doesn't have anything to do with us because the policy has a $500,000 limit essentially for extra expense, and the interim schools fall under that. And I don't know how much you all have discussed that up until this point, and I don't want to raise any concerns, but that is an issue. There's a $500,000 limit. The policy is the named insureds for the policy are Tipton County and the Board of Education. So we have to disperse the $500,000 to Tipton County and the Board of Education. You all work out. I think the county is agreeable to providing most, if not all, of the funds to the Board of Education.
They said we could have it all.
Okay, good.
I'm just kidding. I just want to say that on camera.
Yeah, all right, great.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, you all work it out. That my understanding is they're gonna just turn over the funds. We still have to name them on the check essentially, because they're a named insured. Now, how they disperse the funds, how you all sort it out, that's family business. It doesn't have anything to do with me. But we will denote that limit in a letter that you can provide to FEMA that they will demand. When you're limited out or excluded for coverage, then you use my letters to go to them and show that we've not paid for something. They'll also demand, I'm sure, copies of our statements of loss as we make payments. I know I've worked with Dr. Bird and Mr. Daugherty to make payments for certain curriculum or curricula, I guess is the correct term, and some band equipment, sports equipment. I know we've made some sizable payments on that for orders that you all have to have before the fall semesters, right? We will denote all of that on a statement of loss that Jenna will help me generate. It will be generated monthly moving forward, where you all will have an accounting of what has been paid. Now, that does not mean that you have necessarily agreed to that, but it's showing that we have paid these amounts, okay? It's not a release, it's not a full accounting, it's not an agreement. The claim is open, we're moving forward. It is simply an accounting statement showing, it's a ledger, essentially showing what we have paid up until that point and for what, okay? So there are two main components to this. There is the building component of it, of the building real estate or real property, and then the business personal property, so the contents. Everything that if you picked up the building and shook it, all the stuff that came out, that's contents. There's a time element piece of it. That's the extra expense that I was talking about earlier, the $500,000. That's an easy one because it's limited to a $500,000, right? And we're gonna pay that as soon as we get a little bit more documentation. We're supporting that you all have incurred that or will incur it in the near future, then we will make a recommendation for that to be paid and we'll close that piece of it out because there's nothing at that point left for me to do on that issue. The building piece of it and the contents will stay open for a considerable amount of time. I think you all will see me again. I'm a familiar face. I think you'll see us again. Given the size of the loss, this is the largest loss that the pool has ever incurred. It's in the tens of millions of dollars, as you know. I'm hesitant to put an exact number on it because I don't know. It's not a secret, but I don't know what the exact number is. We won't know, and I've talked to Dr. Combs about this. We won't know until it's over exactly what it costs. Okay, and there's a lot of, you all know better than I do how the bidding process works. We will follow that, and it's hard for me to say exactly what you all will incur or what we paid under the policy until we know what the replacement costs look like for those two buildings, okay? We have a fairly good determination that the elementary school, maybe? We know that one, there is no question about it being a total loss, okay, or it needs to be demolished. The middle school, every engineer will say that every building can be repaired to us, given us enough money to do it. We are considering that a constructive total loss, okay? So you will see in the report, the engineer's report, and I don't want this to alarm anyone, but you will see in the engineer's report that it says the building is not structurally compromised at the point where it needs to be torn down, okay? But that is what an engineer has to say. That is a true statement. However, the costs and time associated with that of repairing it and putting it back the way that it was, exceed the value of the building or get very close to it, okay? It's the same thing with a car. You might not damage the car to 100% of the value, but if you're at 80% of the value of the car, then the insurance company's gonna total it, okay? It's a similar concept. So I don't want anybody to be alarmed about that. We're all on the same page about demolishing both schools. We'll work with you all. I think that you're coming up on accepting some bid or propositioning for some bids for the demolition soon.
Now, I will say that, yes, sir. So it's a dance, right? Any of you've ever done anything with insurance and when you add FEMA and everything with it, it's a dance. Some days it's a waltz, some days it's a body slam, some days it's a disco, you never know, right? So but everything has to work simultaneously. So Houston and his crew will obviously work with us as we work with FEMA to find out what they need and what they don't need. And the denial letter that he was talking about is what we need to share with FEMA to say, no, insurance is not covering it. That's why we need you to do it. So everything kind of has to coordinate in conjunct, correct? So
Correct, yes, sir.
that's why all this, there's a lot of minutia in there, and you have to make sure that everything works so we don't leave anything in the gap. So that's what's
That's a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
Is making sure that we don't leave anything behind.
Right.
And I've told this to Dr. Combs, and I'll say it publicly on the record here, we're not here to dictate the process. I can't do that. These schools don't belong to me or the pool or CRL. They belong to you all. And we're here, the only thing that we ask is to be taken along for the ride, okay? We don't want to provide any input as to what you can or cannot do. That is for you, the people of Tipton County, to decide how to do that. We may ask questions as to what you're doing or why you're doing it, so that we make sure that if we can pay for it, that we are paying for it, and if we can't, that we're explaining why. So there may be questions as we come up in the planning phase of what the new schools are gonna look like. We'll be a little bit more involved, but much more from a observational perspective than a directive perspective. We're not here to supervise or manage the project. We're here to listen and to watch what's going on and to report back. Because as I said, this is the largest loss that the pool has ever sustained. It's also the largest loss that the county reinsurance limited excess carriers have ever sustained on the program. And I believe they have 22 states in their program. I manage 2 of them, Tennessee and Kentucky. And I know that Kentucky, if you remember 2 years ago, the Mayfield tornadoes, it was a tremendous loss. That one was the largest loss, I think, up until that point. And I'm the harbinger of death, apparently. Wherever I go, the losses get bigger and bigger. So now the largest loss in the program is here. So there's a lot of eyes on this project. And in general, we have 16 carriers that reinsure this policy. And so 16 people all over the world. They are literally all over the world. They're in Europe, they're in the Caribbean, they're in the United States. They look at what we do, specifically what I do. And so that's on top of Becky Brock with local government, Donna McEarl with the Davies Group who manages the day-to-day claims, Dr. Combs, our CRL counterparts here in North Carolina. There are a lot of people, there are 20 or so people that look at what I do. So sometimes I have a lot of questions to answer. I think up until this point it's gone very well. We've gotten most of the incurred cost handled, except for what you all are going to be doing moving forward on demolition. And then once we have a number on that, we'll be looking at payments for that. But by and large, that's where we are. We've handled the immediate issues, I think, with curricula and equipment, and instruments, I believe was another item that we paid for. We will have a contents inventory done soon. We will work with the BOE to confirm that we have everything. We sent in a team of folks over to the schools inside the buildings and also to your storage warehouses to do an inventory of what all you had. We compile that, we price it, then we send it to Dr. Combs and his folks, and you tell us where we're wrong, okay? At a minimum, we'll pay you what's on that inventory, undisputed, and then we'll work to fill the gap, and as you identify issues with that, we'll make corrections as needed and pay supplements on top of that. But that's pretty much all I have to add. I just to note that you'll see us again. I must be here, or someone representing me or the pool CRL will probably be at every meeting moving forward if the Crestview schools are on the agenda. If they're not, then we won't be here. But I think you'll see us for the next 3 or 4 months at least until we get things rolling, and then we probably back off on that. But we're here to answer any questions. If there's anything I can do for you all, let me know. And I'll open it up at this point. I will say I live in Nashville. I live in a little city inside of Nashville. We have our own commission, city commission, like the council. And I went to that meeting last night to complain about my neighbor who doesn't cut his grass. And one of the commissioners was asleep most of the time, so I will say that you all do a little bit better.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Talking about the demolition, where are we at on that?
We,
I mean, I know we,
well, A2H is who we've gotten to work us through that process. But I mean, quite frankly, we're working toward that. They can talk about that when they come up a little bit. But I'll be honest with you, my focus right now is on getting those kids in those interim buildings. That's not my focus.
yeah.
So we're gonna get rid of that eyesore as soon as we can. But first we have to get these kids in these buildings. So.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr.
Well,
S.
I would just say,
Okay, go ahead.
you know, you referred to a dance, how far along into that dance would you say? We already said 3 or 4 months, you think we'd be?
Oh,
We just bowed to each other at the beginning.
That's
So it's made eye contact.
Yeah, we're 10%. We're gonna know each other the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, gotcha.
As long as it's, you all will dictate essentially how long the claim stays open. Now, I will say, there is by statute and by provision within the contract, the policy, it says that you have 2 years from the date of loss to conclude the claim. We will request, and they will most certainly accept extensions, but we will have to start providing updates. As we get closer to that, I'll let you know. We'll have to make formal requests through Dr. Combs' office you'll have to tell me that you want to keep the claim open. We'll do it, we've done this before on the Brighton High School claim.
Yes, sir.
We'll do it 90 days at a time, and we'll continue to push that out as long as there's a valid reason. I don't anticipate there not being a valid reason, but as long as we're making progress, then we'll continue to move forward. So if you think that there's a 24 to 36 month time from today, I don't know how long it takes to build a school. I've never done that. I would assume that it's a couple-year process by the time you get it done from now. I don't want to speak out of turn. It may be less. I don't know. But whatever that term is how long you'll be seeing me, God willing.
Are there any other questions? Hey, we appreciate you being here and
Yes,
giving
sir.
us an update.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to do it anytime.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Bird, let's do your report with, Ms. Kendall and do the scholarship. Well, they can maybe get done.
They wanted to stay for a lot
They
longer.
want to stay for a long time.
I talked them out of
We're
it.
gonna let them out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple
Yeah.
things, but you want me to save that and just go straight to
Yes, go
this?
straight to them.
Perfect,
Yeah.
okay, we have Ms. Kendall Joyner here tonight, I think most of you all know her, and she is going to present the winners of the Richard Joyner Memorial Scholarship, and we have Ms. Kay, Mr. Joyner's wife, so Ms. Kendall, come on up.
Thank you, Dr. Bird. Thank you for having us. We appreciate y'all giving us the opportunity to let these fine young ladies speak to you tonight. So this is the second year that we've given away the scholarships, and last year we were able to use the money that was donated when Dad passed away. And this year we used the insurance money that he received from being on school board. We have set that aside and invested it, and so this year that money has started coming from those funds. I think we had about $300 or $400 left in what was donated, and we pushed that over to the Endless Possibilities scholarship, because it wasn't enough to pay for the 3 that we give away, so we just pushed that over and let Dr. Combsden give that away under Endless Possibilities. So, again, this year, they had to do 2 essays. I know there's several new board members out here, new faces for me, but we asked the kids at all 3 of our high schools to do 2 essays in their own handwriting. They're not allowed to type it. I always felt like Dad would appreciate that. So, they're asked 2 questions. The first one is that they're supposed to tell us something in their educational experience here in the county that they feel like has bettered them. We felt like that was something Dad and the school board would want to know about. And then the second question is they're supposed to tell us something that they feel like should have been changed or added or adjusted that maybe would have made that experience better. And after reading all the essays, and we had even more this year that were turned in, about 60, 65 total from the 3 high schools, I will tell you a little bit of a recap. The kids love the capstone program. So that was big news, especially at Brighton High School. Well, I'm assuming all of them have something, but Brighton High School loves that, so keep it going. They are very big on any CTE programs, sports, clubs, activities. Those are lots of positive comments all the time. There's a couple of things that you will see consistently that they would like to be added. And one of those is that they would like more electives, more choices in their curriculum. They feel like they have too many of the basics sometimes, and they would like more choices. And then the other one that shows up often is they would like more life skills. And I will just say, add a note here, I know that Brighton High did a really incredible life skills program here at the end of the year. So I thought that was a nice touch that they added that kind of addresses this. So our 3 scholarship, we're gonna start with the first one is from Munford High, and her name is Kelsey Stinson. So Kelsey, if you'll come up. She's gonna read her 2 essays for you.
Okay. Hello again, I'm Kelsey. So my first essay, being a longtime Tipton County School student, starting in kindergarten and about to become, well, I am now a Mumford High alumni. I started at Drummond's, by the way, and went through Mumford Middle School, and so I could state I have never had a bad experience. This comes with explanation. Since I started at Drummond's Elementary School, I have been the student teachers look to for assistance. We all know being a teacher can be challenging and also very rewarding at the same time. With a natural helping heart, I helped grade and organize papers, helped tidy up / set up the classroom. I made office runs for my teachers. Some may call this being a teacher's pet. Some may call it being nice. Through this, though, I gained a slice of insight to the life of a teacher inside the schoolhouse. With this, I found a new respect for the ones who get up every day to come passionately serve us as students and help make sure we succeed. The experience that has positively impacted me and helped me grow is the entire thing, my entire time in school. I have found patience and thankfulness through seeing how teachers give back to us every day. I have accomplished goals I never imagined I could because of one single, how can I help you? Knowing how that question has impacted me, I only want to keep passing it on. The second one, as a person moves through school from an elementary schooler all the way through high school, students become less interested in attending. And these essays for me compare because you look around at other classmates or students around you and you're like, man, I wish they loved being here like I do. And it all comes from having a different perspective, but this second essay for me is a reason I enjoyed school, but also what I feel like we could use more of. So to continue, students come because they have to. I can tell you I've experienced the same thing some days, some not. But fortunately, it did not change my drive. I want to propose a way to help others find the fascinating part about school and learning new things. I think incorporating more guest speakers, field trips, and hands-on experiences for a wider variety of classes would help. Everyone has a different learning style. These actions are usually the ones that catch the eye, but we don't see them a lot in our more common core classes like English, history, science, and even mathematics. We have many history facts right here in Tipton County for our history classes that I learned through Total Youth Leadership. Local theaters for English, many factories and plantations for science, and for math, it kind of made me brainstorm a little bit. So I wondered what could we offer for math, because you don't typically see field trips in math. My purpose for this is to offer students a new perspective outside of the classroom. I think going this route could improve attendance, behavior, and academic success. Thank you.
May I ask where she's going to school, what she's studying?
I'm attending Dyersburg State. I thought that was the best decision for me, and then I plan to transfer out to a university.
Good for you. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Abby Gaither from Brighton High School.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my first essay. During my time as a student within Tipton County Schools, there have been many school-related experiences that have positively affected me as an individual. One of those experiences was when I got the chance to attend a quarterly early Head Start through the FCCLA club on a field trip. There were about 20 of us selected to attend a Head Start and help with each class's Halloween parties. We were split into pairs and assigned a classroom with which to assist. At first, when we made it to the classroom, there were a handful of children, all so different but still dressed in their Halloween costumes, running around playing with toys and their parents, waiting on their teachers to get breakfast ready. Right as the class was sitting down to eat, someone knocked at the door. It was one last parent with their little girl, but she was really upset and didn't want to join the class. I could tell she was upset because her dad was leaving and she saw everybody waiting with their parents. I immediately went over and got on her level just to be there for her while she sat eating. Afterwards, I could tell how much better she was feeling. I personally believe this experience has helped me grow as an individual and helped shine a light and confirm on my career goals of working with kids. Since this provided me with the chance to encounter dozens of different kids and their parents, it helped me to not only see that everyone comes from a different background and requires a different amount of attention. And for my second one, I have received my whole education through Tipton County Schools, and my overall experience has been great. However, there is one thing in particular I personally believe could be added to make the experience even more beneficial. During the time we spend in school receiving our education, most of it is focused on our core classes that we say are vital to our education, such as math, science, English, and history. We are given a broader spectrum of classes once we enter high school to take in addition to our core classes. However, I still believe there's one missing from the list, a general life skills class. I personally believe we would all majorly benefit from having a class that could better help us prepare for the futures we know we have coming ahead of ourselves. Making the transition from adolescence to adulthood can be very challenging and scary if you have not been properly prepared and taught life skills. There are several tasks that most of us don't even realize we'll have to do soon in the future, like build resumes, balance a checkbook, build credit, pay general bills, apply for loans, and so much more. So not only would having a life skills class teach us day-to-day obligations, but it would teach us adulthood as well.
You want to be a teacher?
I want to be a pediatric dentist.
Oh, good for you.
But I teach little kids dance right now as well.
Okay, good.
Our final recipient from Covington High School is Delaney Nace.
I've always taken advanced classes because I enjoy pushing myself. I had hoped to get ahead in my academic career. However, I had some negative experiences in this area. Multiple times I've been cheated out of a teacher in my advanced placement classes. My 8th grade year, I decided to take Algebra 1. I wanted to get ahead early so I could begin to take college classes while still being in high school. However, not far into the year, our teacher quit. Our class was stuffed doing packets filled with curriculum we did not understand. We had multiple different teachers come in and out trying to teach us. However, each teacher had a different teaching style, so their efforts were not successful. And I still feel the effects of not fully learning Algebra 1. Fast forward to my junior year, I decided to take AP English. And once again, I was left without a teacher. My class did not receive any instruction the first semester. In the second semester, we were enrolled in an online course where we were forced to complete a year's worth of work in one semester. Felt like my time was wasted, and as a test approached, I felt extremely unprepared. However, I passed a test, which sent me from Composition 1. Senior year, I found myself once again without a teacher. I had to complete Composition 2 and American Literature online. Providing quality teachers and support for high-achieving students would have tremendously improved my educational experience. I believe that this change would positively impact most students. It would encourage students to strive for success and to take high-level classes. Supporting students that want to do well is a change that must happen in our school system. Joining FFA has been one of the best decisions I have made in my school career. Participating in competitions has forced me to step out of my comfort zone and grow as an individual. My biggest fear freshman year was public speaking, or really just speaking in general. I was not confident in myself or my words, and I began to compete in competitions such as ag sales, horse judging, and dairy cattle judging. In these competitions, speaking is a huge part of the overall score. My advisors helped me practice and built my confidence. I had success in my competitions because of their help, and I will carry these skills with me as I continue my education. Competing in FFA also taught me how to make decisions. In judging competitions, we were only given a certain amount of time to place the animals. So I had to quickly weigh the pros and cons of each prospect. Timely decision-making skills will also help me throughout life. I've also made connections with people through FFA. One of my most valued relationships that I have made is with my advisor. He has always been in my corner and has presented opportunities to me. FFA helped me accomplish my goals by strengthening my communication and decision-making skills. My advisors have also ensured that I take advantage of every opportunity, and I would encourage everyone to join FFA. Mississippi,
Okay, what you wanna do?
ag business.
Good
Thank you.
luck.
Hey,
I want to
Chip,
thank you again for letting us.
he has a question.
Another question, go ahead.
Sure, but the three, like, how many dual credit courses, or how much college credit do you already have after graduating? I mean, were you able to take very many dual credit?
I have 32 hours.
Okay, wow.
I don't know my exact hours, but I took world history, and college algebra and statistics, and then I was exempt from Comp 1, so I had Comp 2 in American Literature.
So thanks again for allowing us to let these kids shine. We really appreciate it, and I could not leave a board meeting without telling you that the tennis courts over at Mumford High School are in good shape.
Thank you, Kid, I appreciate that. At least it's not the propane tank.
Exactly, yes.
Well, I had to pick one of these.
Thanks.
Thank you again.
Thanks, y'all.
We're gonna, Mr. Hunter Bennett, construction update.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if you don't mind, I had another question for Dr. Byrd.
Okay, she's gonna come back up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's coming back. Right, right now?
Yes,
Coming
sir.
back, right?
Intermission for her.
Good evening. So obviously, if you guys have been around Covington lately, you've noticed there's been a bit more stir, more traffic going on the hillside at the temporary schools. Quite the exciting week, to say the least. Showed up, left close of business on Friday and came back on Monday morning to both schools having concrete on the inside. So, I think I would be doing a disrespect without giving, much appreciation to J-Ton and their crew and what it is that they have done in order to make sure that we get our kids back in school. Much appreciation for the commitment and the manpower that they made sure that they're not the reason that we don't get back. And then I'll follow up with, on Monday, when we showed up back to conduct our normal business, if you will, and then Dr. Combs and I go to the job site, Service Master by Cornerstone, who was awarded the interior build out, not only was on site, mobilized before the concrete was poured, but they were also covering the floor with protection so they could begin the interior layout. And Monday, the walls actually began to come up. working very closely with Sunbelt that had some things that need to be adjusted with the HVAC. They're all in there, guys. It's the most impressive project that I have personally been involved with, to say the least. I mean, I'd like to say that I've been a part of some nice ones, but much more involved in the amount of manpower that people are putting forth to get our kids back in school. I can't thank the support that's being shown to our community enough. I would like to invite all of you to come out, but with some instructions, if you will. And I will be glad to give you your own personal tour. I can't extend this to all of the community, but not all community or board members. So if you guys would like to come on site and take a tour, I would be glad if you would reach out to Dr. Combs or myself. I will need to make sure that we're equipped with hard hats, which can be provided there on the job site. Service Master has given me the authority or given me the privilege to say, hey, we've got the proper PPE for you to be able to bring your board members on site to be able to take a tour and enjoy really the excitement of really what's happening. And I can't really explain the magnitude of it without you actually coming to the job site. So this leading up to, if you will, start time, and we're doing the pre-con meetings and whatnot, and I'm on site and I'm meeting with the Sunbelt reps and the J-Time guys and Service Master, and we're on what a lot of us remember years of baseball, and there's always been a flag flown. And so I just reached out to one of the Service Master's rep and was like, man, don't let me forget I need to get a flag. Like, we gotta get a flag. Of course, phone calls come, Hunter, I need you to come here, I need you to ask you this, emails are coming, and the flag at that point just kind of went away. Well, yesterday evening, I got a message, what time are you gonna be on site? Like, pretty hectic day, I'm planning to be there around 9:30. Like, cool, I got something I'd like to, I'd like you to be there for. Okay, well, I'll try to get there. 9:30, I get a message, you close? Well, I'm gonna be there in about 30 minutes, I'll be there. Well, so I pull up, thinking nothing more than we've got a construction question. And that's where this, actually, it's a pretty special moment took place. So Service Master went, as they have for our system, above and beyond again. It had a gentleman here in staff, and he actually donated, he gifted us a flag, and we did an official raising of the flag there this morning. And some of the history of it is this actual flag was flown on September the 11th of 18 above the Pentagon. So that is now a flag that we can fly proudly, that was gifted to us from a member that has obviously taken much, if you will, the bull by the horns to get our kids back in school. So it was a slight emotional this morning. I wouldn't say that I cried, but I may have had some chill bumps. But it was one of the more cool experiences that I've had in my career, to have someone there. We did an official, I've never done an official flag rise, but there is a process, guys, and we experienced, and it was a very cool moment. So I do invite you all to come to the school. I could sit here and give you the timeline, but it's so fast, you wouldn't believe me. I mean, concrete's poured on Saturday morning, 1 o'clock. They pour Monday morning at 1 o'clock. Studs are literally, we're on site marking walls, and foot traffic's allowed after 24 hours. They go in and do a test. They allow us to take the field, if you will, and begin the process to come up. So both buildings, I'd say the first building, Pat, am I wrong in saying the first building's probably 60% built out as far as the metal studs?
That's right. You can actually see them in the pictures.
And so, and then on the interior of the second school, of the elementary school, it's already begun, the metal studs.
They'll be putting sheetrock up tomorrow, starting to go out, they'll start hanging on.
Right. So, I don't wanna overpromise. There's very many logistical challenges that are still ahead of us. However, I will tell you that we have partnered with teams, if you will, that are committed to getting our kids back in school. So I greatly appreciate you guys providing us the opportunity to work with big hitters in the community. So I do appreciate it. I do have, Pat Harcourt here this evening to discuss, you can beat him down if you want to as far as about where we are on the new schools coming. I can tell you before he gets here, that you will see, in order to pull off a project like we are here on the interim schools, that's taken the majority of their time, of the team that's working with us, most of their time. However, they are currently working on getting the documentations ready for us to be able to secure a construction manager and as well as hopefully reward a demolition company soon. So I am gonna turn over to Pat to discuss a piece of our interim structure that needs to be voted on by you guys. And this piece will involve, our restroom and our nurse and food prep portion of this project. So I'll turn this over.
Can either one of you, for people to gain understanding, they may not be here, maybe watching online, the safety of those buildings when it comes to weather, rain? There's lots of chatter. What's the safety? Can you speak to the safety of those buildings?
I tell you what I can do, and so I don't misspeak. Dr. Combs, I've just shared with Dr. Combs, and I'm not gonna read it, but I'm sure it's information that was shared for the engineered letters for the structures themselves. So one of the things that I'm sure is going to come up as to wind. These buildings are rated for 105-mile-an-hour winds. So I'm not saying that that's the only thing we're worried about, but there is a documentation here prepared by engineers that, Doc, I'll let you disperse that as how you feel.
Okay, and we have, that's some of the stuff that I talked to Echo about whenever we met, was the safety. I think a lot of people, the folks that keep calling them tents, they're obviously not tents, right? And that's one of the things I put out when I showed to Echo. There's an insulated metal on the inside and the outside. So it's metal all the way through, all the way up to the roof line. And the roof is snow rated. So hopefully, since I just said that, we're gonna get, 12 feet of snow this winter. I'll have to pull Bean out later, but, so it's that way, that the doors are metal. They're gonna be like a panic door, just like that. Like if you walked into a school building, that's what they look like. That's the door. So they'll be there, they'll be, all the doors will be locked, just like they always would. The doors to classrooms will be there, and they're gonna be fire rated, and they'll all be locked because that's the code. Mr. Fireman over there, he'll tell us. So, safety wise, we're gonna have camera systems, fire alarm systems. There's gonna be an SRO in each building. I believe we even have somebody on fire watch that we're supposed to provide, I believe, too. So anyway, safety's gonna be, it's gonna be paramount.
I think the whole point is the children and the teachers are a high-priced commodity.
Oh, 100%.
So we're not gonna be dumb enough to just throw something up there.
100%, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
These buildings have been used before, right?
These buildings have been used in other situations before. However, I'll say this, not to the extent that we're building them up. We have, these things are basically, these are the regular buildings we've had on steroids, aren't they? Because of the state fire marshal, these things have been beefed up beyond what Ford has ever done with it.
Because people have to understand, this is not a family reunion, we're setting the tent up for a weekend.
That's exactly right.
The public needs to know that there's safety
right
in these buildings because we're taking care of these kids.
Metal studded walls, sheetrock, concrete, it's.
Everything in there is non-combustible materials.
Yeah.
Fire sheetrock,
Right.
2 layers, for the corridor and all that.
Encapsulated corridors, all that.
I don't wanna use the term red tape that we've had to get through, but that's what most people would probably, label that as. However, the concern and making sure that the concern that you just brought up has been under much microscope
100%.
to make sure that these kids were put in a situation where not only will they be safe, but they will also be able to learn.
Right.
So there has been endless hours, if you will, that have been put into this here, not only here within our school system, but at the state level, at the architect and engineering level, to make sure that we've done, not only did we comply with the safety, but we've got ADA requirements. We've met with fire marshals sure we'll have a meeting next week.
Electrical
If something,
code,
I mean,
everybody.
Inspectors, the whole deal.
I mean, the local codes, and that's, and let me, and the local codes got, let me say this, and this goes out to, Mr. Jenkins and our local codes enforcers as well. I would like to extend an appreciation for their availability that they have made for us in order to make sure that we do get our project expedited, and that they are not the reasons that we are not in school. They've reached out to me personally, they've reached out to our contractors and said, if you need something from us, if you need clarification, questions, call us. We will not be the reason behind the kids not getting in school. All while we've got to make sure that these buildings are built right and safe. So
You're doing a
please,
good job.
hats off to all parties involved in this situation.
Let me throw this in there too, just to speak to that safety piece as well. I can't name another place in, for sure Covington, but possibly Tipton County, where that many police officers will be gathered within like, what, 300 yards, 400 yards? I mean, you have Crestview Elementary, Crestview Middle, Charger Academy, Alternative School, you'll have an SRO in each one of those 4 buildings. I mean, you talk about, they're gonna be really, really close, so that piece of the safety question, is gonna be beneficial as well.
On-duty staff is there.
That's right, that's right. I mean, so it's, yeah.
People don't know what they don't know, because they don't know.
Well,
Right.
and I get that, and I do appreciate the questions, because those that wanna know, the information's out here. We'll give you the information. If you want it, you can watch, obviously, they can watch the board meetings and hear these questions. They can come to the board, they can come to the job site. I can't give them the tour, but I can stand out front and give them questions that they may have. But again, please, if you wanna come, let me know.
So are we targeting August 7th, that's first day of school, or August 1st? Where are we?
Well, we're targeting August 7th for the kids. You know, if we can get the teachers in there sooner, then we're gonna try to do that. August 7th is still our target. However, you know, as I told Echo the other day, I can't control the weather and everything else, but that's the target.
So as far as, because the parents won't be updated, you know, because it's an inconvenience for them if they're planning on school and school's not ready to be open.
That's right.
So do we have, as far as our timeline plan, I mean, is there something that we track as far as, do we say each day that we're on track for the 7th? Or how do we give them as much notice as possible that?
We are getting daily updates, each contractor that tells where they are, what their plan is for tomorrow, and so forth. And I tell you, things are just moving
Super quick, yeah.
super fast. We've had people out there every day helping the contractors, making decisions, doing this. Hunter's been fantastic out there a lot. I told him when we're done with this, his hair's gonna look like mine. But, it's been a real effort, and everybody, it's a, you know, you say a community comes together in a disaster, but it really has. I mean, it's code enforcement, the fire chief. I mean, I've been on the phone with Richard 40 times, you know, hey, can I do this, can I do this, can I do that? You know, everybody's making decisions quickly, and we're having to make re-decisions sometimes, but it's been a real fun journey so far. And we are tracking to get those kids, and everybody understands the importance of, I don't care what anything else says, August school starts.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You know, and whatever happens, we gotta figure out a way to come up, you know, get around it. That's what we've been doing, so. It's everybody in the whole community that's had anything to do with code enforcement, policemen, fire departments. The 3 contractors that we ended up with out here, I wish they were on every project I've ever done. I'm gonna tell you, they're fantastic.
And I would say, and it's funny, the reason I'm on my phone is because I've had 2 text messages from parents about what we're talking about right now during the meeting.
Yep.
And so, and my thing is, hey, read the story. I'm gonna respond to it. I'm trying to respond to those as quick as I can. But the other thing is, you know, as you got the invitation from Hunter, come to the site. We will walk you through the site, and when your constituents ask you questions, you've been there. You can say, here's what I've seen. This is what it looks like. I can take pictures. Come on, and we'll show them to you. Because that's why I've been trying to get that through Echo and give all those pictures. But I'm telling you, just like you said, until you've actually put your eyes on it, it's really hard to describe the amount of work that's going.
I would stress though, if you're gonna come out, please contact him
Yeah,
because there's equipment running around everywhere, people are going everywhere. And, you know, you don't need a lot of any more chaos that's already out there.
Is the
So,
work going 24 hours? I know that Jay and them was pouring at 2 a.m. in the morning. So is there a
Currently,
better time for us to try to come to do
well,
that?
we can definitely, know as involved as everyone is, we can come in the back door, if you will. I mean, we can find a way to show you what's going on in the project at any time. The hours right now, those guys are showing up before 7, they're working, so we're working 12s, if you will, right now, with multiple crews. I mean, so it's not like there's the electrician out there, but every trade is
I
on
think there's
site.
over 100 people out there
Yeah, I'd say.
now.
It was Saturday, Sundays? Or-
Yeah, I would expect you to see, yes, Saturdays and Sundays. These guys are, I'm telling you, these guys, they work a different lifestyle than we do.
They were out there Saturday, I can promise you, because
Yeah.
we were out there.
They're not gonna lose a day to, I mean, elements are there, and now that we're inside, I mean, so we control, they're in the dry, you're gonna see workers. So, is there a better time? Probably not. I mean, just call me. I'd be glad to give you guys a tour. I mean, this
You
is,
just need to be escorted, that's all.
yeah, that's really all it is. I just need to
Would it
make
be
sure,
easier
because
to
if
come
you're
as a
not, you
group,
find
so you're
yourself
not
total piece of shit.
doing this, doing that? I mean, wouldn't it be
If
easier
you wanna come
as a
as more
group?
than one, yeah.
We'll
As long
try
as
to
you
work
don't
that
talk
out.
about
Yeah, y'all let me
As
know.
long as you don't have a meeting,
If you wanna come as a group, I would say, I will tell you this, lunchtime, not a bad time. They stop for lunch, but I will tell you, as soon as their lunch break's over, if you're not careful, you'll be toting drywall. So be careful when.
Hey, John,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I tell you what would be pretty cool, if it could be arranged, if it's workable, have our school board meeting in the building in August or September.
Okay, I think it would be better to have it in September after everything gets ironed out. If,
Well, you guys talk it over, I was just.
we'll talk it over and
We good?
we'll see about it. Maybe make that decision. Anybody have any other questions for Mr. Hunter before?
September.
I got one, but it's not
Okay.
about dude, I'm gonna go ahead and let
Mr. Pat's fixing
Mr. Pat speak and stuff, then we'll come back to
I'm
him.
not leaving, I'll be right here.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you,
why I let
Hunter.
Mr. Pat go on.
Thank you for the
Do his
update.
thing.
Okay, well, first of all, let me say this. Congratulations, Dr. Cullen.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal, man.
Thank you,
Uh,
I appreciate it.
I think that's pretty neat, y'all. Glad you got recognized for that. Okay, so, we had a Sun Belt bid. I mean, we had a proposal form before, but we had to bid it to meet the FEMA criteria and stuff like that. So I got their bid and, you know, on the plans, clearly states restrooms had to be in there and stuff. So got to noticing that it was lower, the bid was lower than their original estimate was. And that's not unusual, you know, a lot of times they give an estimate, they always try to make it high, so they come in under stuff like that. But I started going through the complete bid, line item by line item by line item. And unfortunately, they did not include in their pricing the restrooms and the office trailers. That all they included was the 3 buildings out there. Now, I did find some math errors and stuff in there that shouldn't have been in there, so we were able to cut out a little over $100,000 out of that price. But there's an additional, for the rental rates for the, thing is a little under $900,000. It was $876,000 or something like that. $876,291. That's for 6 bathroom trailers, like you see out here. I don't know if y'all had a chance to go in those or not.
They're brand
6
new.
of those, brand new, 4 office buildings. One was for a nurse's station, the other's gonna be for food prep and stuff like that. So I get to be the bearer of bad news,
That's
but
quite a miss on that bid, isn't it?
Well,
That's not just
it is.
like that.
It is, but, you know, we did require a bid bond and stuff like that, but, you know,
So this is on the
So we did three, we did the concrete, the rental, which was, so we're talking about the 2.2 million?
We're talking about the rental of the Sunbelt, yes,
So
sir.
we were
Yes,
at
sir.
2.2.
That was, no, that's the build out, that
The
was.
build out was
That
4.4, or which one was 4.4?
That's the Sun Belt.
That's Sunbelt.
Sunbelt was 4.4,
That's
all right.
That's Sunbelt, 4.174.
Well, it ends up, after I went through it, Mr. Chairman, it's $4,070,000 and
Okay,
change.
knocked 100 off of it then, okay,
Right.
yeah.
A little over 100, yes, sir. But we need to add back in, the 876,291.
We'll make it right at 500. I mean, 5 million, I mean.
It'll be right at $5 million, yes, sir.
And that's still that reimbursed
And that's
part. I mean, the
pretty
bid, we
much
did the
where
bid
their
correctly.
Original thing was.
They just left that part out when they,
I went through
for Sunbelt
every
did.
way and looked at everything I could to make sure, hey, they hide something somewhere. I've talked to them on the phone, many hours going through all of this. I mean, it's taken me days to assemble all this and go through all this. I feel confident that they made a legitimate, mistake. They missed it. And I think the fair thing to do and the right thing to do is to go ahead and add this into their contract right now. So, I
and
guess,
the attorney and FEMA and everybody, they're fine with us not having to, they said it's okay to add it in. We don't have to do anything additional if that's what y'all vote.
right,
to
it's
go
less
ahead and
than
move on.
25%, so you can do a change order for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Not much, but you're right.
Yeah.
But,
And that's
You
for,
know-
just, and make sure everybody knows again, that's for 4 restroom trailers, like the one we have set out here.
well, four
Well,
like
4
that.
of these,
Yeah.
and then 2
handicap
ADA.
ones. Let's make the 6, and
That's
then
right.
4 Connex type box trailers. That are, one's gonna be a nurse's station, one's gonna be food, the other 3 are food prep areas.
Okay, we've heard the request, do we have a motion? Motion by Ms. Eubanks, second by Mr. Davidson, is there any discussion?
How long is the rental, it's rental, right?
26-month lease.
26 months.
Is there anything getting back if we're shorter than that, if we're able to speed things up as far as construction of the new buildings, or?
Possibly.
They gave me a thing for every 4 weeks.
Right.
I think it was $4,500 on one, and I got it broken down like that if you need me to look it
So
up.
then paying for it, I guess, is that like a monthly rental thing, something we're talking about?
That'll be
before?
part of the
So this
same.
is just-
He's gonna calculate that into our payment for our reimbursement.
And everything with FEMA's going good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It is as of the last 4 or 5 days. We were having a few, but we feel really good about the last 4 or 5 days. We talked to a few different people and it's going well now. Yes, sir.
Are we through with the bidding process, or is there a possibility we could get another surprise sometime down the line?
Well, I think with the bidding process, there's probably gonna be some things that are changing. There's some, do we wanna talk about the road or whatever?
Let's stick with what we got going here, then we'll go to that. Let's, are there any questions about the, additional money that the request was made here? Any other questions? Those in favor, let me know, saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
I'm not, but I'm not happy with that.
There you go.
I understand, I really do.
I don't know what else we can do, we can't stop progress.
Well,
I mean,
we gotta have
I
we gotta have bathrooms.
understand. You gotta have it, it's
So-
just an oversight.
So it's just let out bidding process.
It was just,
Yeah,
the bidding process was right.
Right.
No,
It was
the
left
bid
out of their-
documents, they didn't include it in their pricing they
Correct.
gave to us. They gave it, it was in the original price they gave. But the bid price that we had to do, we had to go through a bidding process for FEMA. They left it out. I don't know why, or.
I don't know how much of it are they just throwing in there?
We just have to have it, I mean, it's no backing up now.
Let me
All right,
ask
go
you
ahead,
a
Mr. Hargrave, with the,
On the restrooms, how many are, I know there's, cause I've been in these type of restrooms before, bathings kind of thing, but, how many urinals versus toilet?
All right, there's,
In
if
the
you go out
ladies'
and look, there's
four.
3 urinals and 1 toilet on the boys' side and 4 stalls in the girls' side. Each one of them. Pretty clean, pretty nice looking bathrooms. I've been in a whole lot worse, you know.
They're not, I mean, they're pretty
Oh,
nice,
yeah.
and they're brand new.
I've been in some of them, they're nice.
Yeah, and I will say this too, keep in mind, y'all, we're not, and I told Echo this, we're not pumping these things out every day. Somebody had that too, these are gonna be, these tap into the
Oh,
city
yeah,
sewer.
Sewer, yeah.
It's, you
They're lined
flush
in.
them and they go to the sewer. This is not a,
It's not a porta potty.
correct,
Right, I've had to explain that.
No, it's all,
no.
it's not correct. Continue on with the rest of your.
Well, I'm done. I'm just here to answer any questions you might have or whatever.
So as far, you'll be the first one to know if that timeline changes as far as the completion date of the interim buildings? I mean, is that, you're the one tracking it?
Oh, yes, well, I'm not the only one trying it. He and I talk daily. Well, multiple times a day. We get a service master that guy sends out a thing every day updating what got done, what's gonna be done tomorrow. He covers all the different crafts on there and stuff, so he's really pretty thorough on that.
Let me ask you this, Hunter, can we get, is it Dan that sends that out? He
Yeah.
sends that update out.
Dan.
Can we get Dan to put each one of these folks on that, so every time, that way I don't have to forward it to them let's just, can we ask him to put them on using the Tipton-County email address? Let's put them, so they get the same daily update that we get. Is that appropriate?
And he won't have a problem, however, I will, on his behalf, because I do work very closely with him, if you have questions regarding said progress report, send them to me or Dr. Combs.
Yep.
Please do not bog down him with.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't want to slow him down. They are moving at warp speed.
Right. If we can just have them copied on
Yeah,
those,
I won't have
that'd
a
be
problem
awesome.
with that, I just wanna make sure that we don't bog
Bog him
him
down,
down.
slow
Because if
him
he
down.
feels the pressure and you've got a question, he will make sure that he gets you an answer, and I just need to make sure that his attention is where he's currently, where he's.
I do think that may help your question, that if you see that every day, that'll give you a little better timeline probably, and, you know, drive any further questions you might have.
Thank you, Pat. Good to see you again. Dr. Bird, you're back up.
He's the chair.
Okay, I want to give you a quick summer school update. Summer school did conclude June the 30th. We had 668 students who completed summer school, and that was rising kindergarten to ninth grade students. I know that you're probably wanting me to tell you about third grade retention, but I can't tonight because those students had to take a post-test at the end of summer school, which was just the last week of June, and we're waiting on that data from the State Department. They have to make 5% improvement on between their TCAP score and their post-test. So as soon as we have that, then I'll be able to give you an update, but tonight I really can't because we don't have that information yet. I also want to share some information very quickly, personnel update, so you know, because I figured this would be a question that Mr. Vincent would probably ask me. I'm just kidding. We have hired 58 certified staff members. 6 of those are teacher assistants who have moved into teaching positions, so we're very happy about that. As of 2 days ago, we had 23 current certified openings. That could be a little off. Ms. Bennett did not give me an update today. That was actually, I think, yesterday morning when she gave me those numbers. So that's where we are now with teaching positions. And then staff EZ, I asked them for an update, and they sent me this information today, actually. We had 48 subs who were in the pool from last year have reapplied. We have 27 new applicants, and those folks are working through the onboarding and background checks and all of those things now. And then we have spoken about a Tipton County Schools account director position, someone who will work closely with all of the schools and principals to make sure folks are in place every day, that we have subs in buildings. They have received 35 resumes, and Kim Woodson, the person who I work directly with, says that they will interview those folks next week, and they will narrow it down to a few top candidates, and then they will pass those along to us for consideration and input. So that is where we are as far as staffing goes. Yes, sir.
The subs are now with the staff EZ, are they actually making more? Are they gonna be taking in more, or is it, how is their pay affected with the change?
What was the first part of the question?
The substitutes on their daily, what they get paid today. I had one say that she checked into it, she was making less, and I thought that they were gonna be making more.
The rate of pay did not change.
Okay.
That is consistent. The actual, and I don't know off the top of my head, but our vendor from last year, their markup was slightly higher than the markup for the new company. So, that.
Shouldn't have been really any change.
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't have been any, okay, well,
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir, we didn't change the rate of pay.
I didn't.
It's the same. I'm not sure what she's talking
Me
about.
either, I thought I'd find out.
I was gonna, if she needs to contact us,
Yeah.
we're happy to help her understand, but as far as I know, the daily rate of pay for subs is the same.
Yeah, I thought so.
And then the last thing, we have several new administrators in the district, so I wanted to make sure that you put a name or a face with the names. So we have 6 new assistant principals, and these are the folks that have been hired across the district. Just top row, left to right. This is Amber Wiley. She was a teacher at Munford Elementary. She will be going to Austin P. Dr. Ryan Wood from Brighton High School is going to Crestview Elementary. Cindy Bryant from Brighton Elementary is going to Munford High School. Krista Cross, Brighton Elementary, is going to Atoka Elementary. Julie Joyner from Crestview Middle is going to Brighton Middle. Uzell Richardson from Brighton Middle is going to Crestview Middle. So those will be our new assistant principals. I don't know if we've ever had this many new ones, but we have 6 this year. And then we have one new principal, Mr. Kyle Simmons, was at Crestview Middle School. He has now taken on the role of principal at Crestview Elementary, and what a story he's gonna have to tell one day. But this is Mr. Simmons and his family, and these are our new administrators, I wanted to make sure you all knew. That's all I have, unless somebody has questions for me, Mr. Vincent.
Did you ever reach out to principals about that? We
Yes, sir.
found out.
So, I have not received all the responses, I believe I got 5 back. And, they liked the idea of having a permanent sub in the building. There was some little variance of whether they thought the person should be assigned first or held for last minute emergencies. Kim, the rep from Staff EZ, said that it would be up to the district, but she said some districts that they work with allow the principals to make that call. Do I want to assign this person first or hold them? We also asked, I asked the principals, I think you and I discussed this, if the person wasn't assigned and no one called in or there were no cancellations, would they have something for that person to do? Of course, they all said yes. The ones who responded said yes. But I also asked how they would feel about them going to a neighboring school, such as a Brighton Middle person going to Brighton High School, and there was differing opinions about that as well. So I did get a few. I'm gonna give them a few more days to respond, and then we're gonna move forward.
I just have one more question for you. Other than Taylor Swift's #1 fan, has anyone else in the district received any accolades lately?
They have. I think Mr. Fields was gonna share that, so
Oh,
I'll
okay.
steal his thunder. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Bird.
Yes, sir.
Taylor, I'm never gonna leave that one.
Director of Operations, Mr. James Fields.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Take 2 minutes.
Start now.
Mr. Chair, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna share a couple of things. I'm gonna bring up Mr. Will from Transportation. First thing I want y'all to know, I didn't have anything to do with that bid not being calculated. So don't give me those looks. So this is the 4th year that we've had out-of-district enrollment. The first year, I think we had about 30 students, and Ms. Renee, correct me if I'm wrong. The second year, we had like 46 students. The third year, which was last year, we had 57 students. And this year, believe it or not, we're on track to have 72 at this point. That's with the $250 increase. So that lets you know, Dr. Combs, Tipton counties, you're doing great things. I don't have the total enrollment for this year yet, and probably won't have a solid number until after the first 20 days. But Mr. Macklin did share with me this afternoon that our enrollment has not dropped. In fact, there's over 300 families that hadn't completed registration, so I don't know what those numbers are gonna look like, but I think we're gonna have I pray that we have a substantial increase, so things are looking good at that point. We have 266 students that moved out of their zone during the open enrollment period. This is the highest number since 2014. I think we started open enrollment in 2014, is that correct?
Sounds right.
I attribute it to athletics, CTE programs, and I hear this a lot. Parents that move out of the zone, they want their kid to graduate from the school that they went to. So, you know, of course, they apply for open enrollment. We have a lot of kindergartners that are applying for open enrollment before they even start school. And I don't know the reason for that, but, you know, people just think, to me, athletics play a big part, and they just love their home school, let's just say that. I asked this question for you. So no, there were not any more requests than usual coming from the Crestview schools. And I think that's great news. So I think I attribute that to getting out the information, keeping updates, and just being honest with the community. So they believe in us. So they're not moving their kids out of Crestview, no more than usual. We processed 62 hardship exemptions thus far, and I think that mostly comes from people just missing the open enrollment period. Because when we look at it, the kid was at that school last year, so they missed the open enrollment, so they had to ask for a hardship exemption again this year. And those kids are already counted in that school, so 99% of those were approved. Now, I will say this, some of the SACC parents that need after-school care, now we did accommodate those parents to move to the school, to the SACC site that they used this summer, but there was only about 12 kids. In Crestview Elementary, when they ended last year, they only had 12 to 15 kids at that site anyway. And I didn't think it would be efficient to staff a after-school program for 10 kids, so. But they've all been accommodated. I want to congratulate my boss again for Director of the Year. But we also need to remember Brooke Shipley. She's in the final 9 for Supervisor of the Year, and Dr. Morris is in the final 9 for Principal of the Year. So thanks for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, any questions?
One question.
Yes.
I just want to say personally, thank you for handling the situation that come up with the summer school issue.
Oh, yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you for getting that handled before we did that.
No problem.
It was a great help. Thank you.
That's what we do. Dr. Combs, man, he's running around like a crazy man. And I asked him, I said, and I did. I said, man, is there anything extra I can do? I mean, I just hate watching them sweating and answering all these calls. He said, well, James, we got 12 other schools that's got open and all. You take care of those.
Okay, Mr. Will.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If you look at that blue sheet of papers there, that's the items that we have to bid out in the transportation department every year. Of course, our DOT physicals, our towing, fuel, and our tire purchases. So starting at the top for our DOT physicals, same doctor's office as last year, St. Francis Medical Partners, the only one to bid. Obviously, that's our recommendation. We did on towing, have Jim's Towing and A+ Towing and Recovery. Our recommendation is to stay with Jim's. That's who we've used for several years. Of course, on the fuel, Wooten was the only bid we received. And on the tire purchases, our recommendation is to stick with Quality Tire. These are the same vendors that we've used for all of these the last 2 years.
We've heard the recommendations on these bids. Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Mr. Vincent. Are there any discussion on these? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any more questions for me?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Financial report, Mr. Billy Daugherty.
Thank you, Rick.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
How much? 2, all right. There we go. Just a little more than 2 minutes.
I'll take the time.
I only have three things tonight, so let me start, since my 2 minutes has started. First of all, I want to request tonight approval from this board for a retroactive budget amendment to the fiscal year 22-23 142 School Federal Projects Fund to reverse the previous disbursement of the $2 million that we had talked about out of fund balance back over to general fund, and put it back in the 142. Some cash flow issues at the end of the year put us on course for a deficit in 142, and so to prevent that, we wrote that $2 million back into the 142. You all put $4 million in there to cash flow the federal projects for all this volume that's been going through. We had budgeted to take $2 million and put $2 million back into the general fund. We wrote that check on June the 9th. In hindsight, I should have wrote it on June 30th. I should have waited to post it to the end of the year. But anyway, so there were some revenue delays through the state and internally, and some revenue reimbursement requests. And so I consulted with audit. I had two ideas on how to fix that or to address it so that we didn't get into an issue. And he agreed that this would be the best way to do it. So the reason, and this will result in an audit finding, I want you to know that, because I spent money you all didn't approve, right? I wrote a check, we didn't have another meeting, so I didn't have time to ask you about it, so I had to write a check back over to the fund, so that in itself will be an audit finding. But in order to correct this, this is the recommendation of audit, is that we do this retroactive amendment, do that with you tonight, and then we'll carry it before the commission at the next meeting. So, Mr. Chairman, I ask that a motion be made to approve a retroactive budget amendment.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Vincent, second by Ms. McClurkin. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passed.
All right, the next thing in your packet, there's a lease agreement that is in there for the, this is for the storage unit for where the contents are being stored for the schools. Now, that has been being taken care of, as you see, by this sample contract service master, but they're asking to move that out to us. Now, I don't know how much longer we're going to need it, but we cannot enter a lease contract without your approval. So tonight, it's my request, Mr. Chairman, motion be made to allow Dr. Combs and or his designee to enter into a lease agreement and negotiate this for the storage of the contents for the schools.
Can I say something for somebody? And make sure they know, so now this is Houston, the one that was up here talking. Now, they're supposed to reimburse us for that, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so that's coming from insurance, not FEMA. Insurance will pay for the lease of this warehouse until we don't need it anymore, which I hope is soon.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Mr. Kirk. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passed.
All right, if we'll go into your folder, there is a FEMA reimbursement sheet in there I want to talk about. So obviously, there's going to be some expenses incurred here with the interim structures. And so let me navigate this document for you. To the left of that blue bar down the middle is really the cost. So you see the construction cost for the concrete, you see the build out from Cornerstone, and you see the 26-month agreement with Sunbelt for the structures, the bathrooms, the food service, and all of that. And you see the total of those three. Now, with the FEMA reimbursement, we're still trying to determine if we're gonna qualify for a standard reimbursement, which they tell me is 75% FEMA. And then the 25% is split between the state and a local match. So it leaves us with 12.5%. There is a clause for small impoverished communities that would raise the FEMA amount to 90%, and then of course leave 5% for the state, 5% for us. That decision has not been rendered yet, so I don't know. I'm gonna budget on the 75, 12.5 until I hear otherwise. That's my recommendation tonight at least. And so that's where you see those numbers broken down there. FEMA 75% amount, TEMA or the state's amount, and then you see what the total hit to our fund balance. This is the amount of money we would commit to pay. This would come out of fund balance to pay for these structures for the next 26 months. My plan or my ask tonight is going to be, Mr. Chairman, just a second, to come back with a budget amendment. Obviously, the budget's not been ratified by the county commission yet, so I don't have a document to give you because it's not been ratified. So they ratify the budget on the 17th. But the ask in the budget for the amendment we would like to carry to them in August is to put these expenditures in the capital projects accounts, which is either going to be 76,100 or 91,300. My preference is 91,300. Audit confirmed that that's okay today, and then we'll show that revenue, and then you'll show that hit to fund balance.
The figures at the bottom are those that are deal with the small impoverished communities, and that's kind of how that would fall out. But more importantly for tonight, if you look at the next two columns to the right of the blue bar, that's the 2 fiscal year impacts. So this first fiscal year, we're gonna have to pay for the construction, and that's how those numbers will break down. And, of course, in 24-25, really all we're left to deal with is the lease payments, right? What I did want to make you aware of, you'll see that 60% number there, for the Sunbelt rentals. Just because I know Murphy lives here, I didn't split it 50-50, I'd rather go ahead and budget 60 in case something comes up we're not seeing and we wouldn't have to come back for another amendment. So that's gonna be my, ask tonight, Mr. Chairman, is that, you all approve us to amend the budget based on the FEMA reimbursement, disaster relief funding, and to be expended for these costs.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Carter, second by Ms. Eubank. Is there any discussion?
What are the parameters for the 90% for small and impoverished? What does that mean?
So it has to deal with, I guess, your Title I schools, the stuff we deal with in the consolidated budget is, poverty-stricken homes, I guess, help me out here, the free and reduced.
Which those two schools are two of our most impoverished as far as poverty levels.
It's a good chance that.
Very, very good chance, yeah.
Those in favor, are there any other questions? Those in favor, aye. Opposed, motion passed.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, unless there be a question for me.
Any other questions for Mr. Billy? Thank you, Mr. Billy.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other business?
I had that question
Okay,
for Mr. Hunter to come back.
okay. Mr. Hunter, proceed.
He may have ditched you.
He stepped out, I heard him, he went out, but he said he wouldn't leave it, so I.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
said,
you see?
Dr. Combs, you want to add anything while I'm trying to get in?
Yeah, I will. I just want to say to the group, number one, thank you. And I'm not go through the whole spiel, I hate these kind of things. It's very humbling. That's awesome. But, you can't do all this without leadership and you can't do it without a team. So it is what it is. I'm just blessed to have landed in this spot with people who are good and it makes me look like I know what I'm doing. So thank you. The other thing is this, I used the analogy of a dance earlier. So we will continue to be doing this dance for the next 2 or 3 years. So just buckle up for that. Let's not, make any misconceptions about what this is. This is gonna be hard for a while. So just today alone, I had to send 7 separate letters on letterhead to FEMA today, just before we got here, just so we don't miss anything. Just so it's like, well, we made an extension on this. I'm having to project like 3 years out. We may have to have an extension on this, so let's go ahead and get this in the queue, right, just in case we need it. But it's gonna be like that for a while. And we have multiple people involved in this, making sure that, they keep us on track and that Mr. Houston with the Adjuster's Office and Insurance and FEMA are, that we're not leaving anything to be desired. But there'll be some things like, the whole bathroom deal. I know it's a pain in the tail. I know that, right? But nobody else bid, number one, and we need bathrooms for the buildings. That's why we have a fund balance. So when stuff comes up like this, we'll have it and then hopefully get it all reimbursed. But just trying to look at the happy side of it. We have to make it work, but hopefully we'll catch some of these too, so.
So are you saying you outworked James this week?
Man, yeah, I outwork James every week.
James got 12 new schools. He's got.
Well, that's true. I only have 2. He has, 12, so no, he's probably winning this week. He's probably winning. And then Dr. Bird's sitting over here going, hey, what about, I'm doing something too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot going on. But I'll tell you, Dr. Morris, I'm gonna say this too, Dr. Morris and Mr. Simmons and their staffs have been unreal.
Right.
I mean, you talk about like history, a moment in history. That hadn't happened before. So it's gonna be an adventure. They're gonna write a book.
It can be a book written, I'm sure.
No doubt.
All right, anybody else have anything?
Property, I don't know.
Do you want to go ahead and say it for the record, just say what you needed? He's not
Yeah,
here.
because on my constituents,
Sorry, that was.
hey, I know we're supposed to get the pavement at Drummond's and everywhere, done, and I know I've talked to him before, and I went up there last night and drove, They changed the bus route, so the buses are coming in on the little road beside the fire department, which is our property. It is, I know it needs paved, it is hammered. It wouldn't, there was no way it's paved thick enough every day, bus routes. But it works, the way they're doing it, it works better for traffic on Drummond's Road, how they got it set up now. That road needs to be widened just a little bit, cause it is bus wide, and it is from basically where you turn up to go up to the park down, it looks like all these concrete trucks that run over all semester, it is.
Tell me exactly what road that is again?
It's the
not
little road that
turnoff,
runs
it's the-
down beside between the fire department and the park. It's,
That's not our road, right?
Tate Road.
no, it's on Tate
county-
Road,
it's a
you come
county
off of
road.
Tate Road, you
And then-
got a double wide road, then you
Right.
got a little ride that goes like to the back of the school.
Okay,
And it used to be, the strip was there, the road was there, for deliveries and stuff. Well, now they're using it for the buses to go there and the cars come out front, which, like I say, smoothed out the
Okay.
morning flow and even flow out there. But it's
But it's
hammered,
hammering the pavement.
hammered that
Okay.
pavement out there, and it needs to be a little wider and probably a little bit thicker on that, cause the buses coming through there, I took pictures and stuff, and I even took it on myself to fill up a couple of potholes, with gravel, that I probably should do, if I go coming back.
Hey, will you send those pictures to both Hunter and myself
I can.
when we get done? Okay. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
I just wanted to get that mentioned, so it's fine.
Yes,
People
sir.
live there, so I was gonna tell them.
No, go ahead.
That's good. Anybody else got anything? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. McCann, second by Mr. Kirk.